In this lesson, we'll create a new layout and enter values for paragraph styles. There are a couple of ways to create a new layout. You can click the Layout button on the function bar, and when asked which layout you want to open, type in a name for the new layout. You can also click File, New, Layout, and then type in the name for the new layout. I'll go ahead and call the new layout My Layout. Now, let's begin modifying the settings for paragraph setup. When I click the down arrow at the end of paragraph style, you can see a list of the different paragraph styles that you might use in a job, and they can be set up to meet your requirements. There are 9 standard pre-named paragraph styles, and 32 user-defined paragraph styles that can be customized for any additional text formatting needs. You're already familiar with 6 of the 9 standard paragraph styles: question, answer, colloquy, and byline, which you've used in transcript text, and parenthetical and centered, which you've used when creating include files. The default paragraph style isn't typically used in either transcript text or include files, although it could be, if needed. The primary purpose of this paragraph in a layout is that the left and right margin settings for this paragraph style will apply to the header and footer text. So later on, when you're working with headers and footers and want to align one to the left margin or right margin or center between the margins, the default paragraph margins are the margins for the header and footer text. Newline paragraph style is used in include files whenever you're not using another paragraph style, such as centered. For example, the text on a certificate page is frequently formatted with the newline paragraph. The single-spaced paragraph style is sometimes used by reporters or scopists who also use Case Catalyst as a word processor to type letters and other documents. Text in this paragraph would be single-spaced without having to insert a single space on or single space off format symbol. Let's go ahead and set the values for our question paragraph style. I'll begin by selecting the question paragraph style from the list of paragraph styles. The first value I would need to enter is for the first line indent. To figure out the correct value to enter, I would measure from the left edge of one of my transcript pages to the position of the first letter of the first word after the Q symbol. Based on my measurements, the first line indent for a question paragraph is at 2 3/4 inches from the left edge of the page. So here, I'll type the decimal equivalent of 2 3/4, which is 2.75. Next, I'll press the Tab key to move the cursor to the next item. The next value I need to enter is for the left margin, or the position where each subsequent line of text should wrap in this paragraph. Again, based on my measurements using a ruler and a hard copy of my sample transcript page, I find that the left margin for a question should line up at 1 3/4 inches from the left edge of the page. So here, I'll type the decimal equivalent, 1.75, and then press Tab to move to the next item. This is the right margin. When I measure the longest line of text from the left edge of the page, I find that the furthest to the right that the text goes is 8 inches from the left edge of the page. So I'll enter 8, and then press Tab. This is an example of a continuation paragraph, sometimes referred to as a new paragraph. When I take a look at a new paragraph in a question in my printed transcript, I don't even need to measure. I can clearly see that the new paragraph lines up at the same position as the first line indent, which I've previously measured at 2.75 inches. So here, I'll go ahead and enter that same value, 2.75, and then press Tab. Here, I indicate whether each line of text in the question should be single-spaced or double-spaced. I use double spacing, so I'll leave the default selection. Here, I indicate how the text on each line should be aligned. With the exception of the centered paragraph, all paragraphs in transcript text, questions, answers, colloquy, bylines, parentheticals, etc., align to the left. Body text font enables you to choose the font that will be used for all text in this paragraph. You can choose the preferred font from a list of all the fonts on your system. Each of the fonts on your computer fall into one of 2 categories, fixed width or proportional. Each character in a fixed width font takes up an equal amount of width. For example, the same amount of space is used for a lowercase I or an uppercase W. On the other hand, proportional fonts use letters that take up a varying amount of space. Although you can use either type of font, you should be aware that when you use proportional fonts, the number of characters that fit on each line can increase significantly, and the total number of pages will proportionately decrease. In addition to the effect on the number of pages in the transcript, the use of proportional fonts can have an adverse effect on the quality of conversion to ASCII format, as an ASCII can only accommodate a fixed maximum number of characters per line. Stenograph recommends that you use fixed-width fonts for transcript text. Case Catalyst includes 4 fixed-width fonts: Andale Mono, Arial Monospaced, Courier New, and Lettergothic MT. I happen to prefer Courier New, so I'll leave that selected, and press Tab to move to the next item. A good example of a paragraph symbol is the Q for a question, or the A for an answer. I prefer a Q period rather than just a plain Q, so this setting is already correct for me. When I measure from the left edge of the page, my Q symbol appears 2 1/4 inches from the edge, so here I'll enter 2.25. Some reporters always write punctuation at the end of each paragraph. Some don't. If you do write steno defined as punctuation, Catalyst always accepts whatever you write. But whenever you don't write steno for a question mark, or a period, or a dash at the end of a paragraph, having a symbol in the ending punctuation field means that the symbol will automatically be inserted at the end of that paragraph style. For a question, if I don't write any other punctuation, it makes sense to have Catalyst automatically insert a question mark. Here, I can select the font for my Q period symbol. Let's say I like it to be the same font as the rest of my question text, but I prefer the Q to be a little bigger than the rest of the text so it stands out a little more. I'll increase the font size from 12 to 14. In some jurisdictions, each continuation paragraph also uses a paragraph symbol. If you need a symbol for each continuation paragraph, you would click here, and enter the characters for the symbol and the position. If you'll be pressing the Tab key in the paragraph to move the text over, you will set up the correct tab stops here. My question paragraphs don't require text to ever be tabbed over, so it's not necessary to set them here. In some jurisdictions, each question is numbered, either in addition to or instead of using line numbers. I don't need to number my questions, so I can skip this, but if I did ever work somewhere where my questions needed to be numbered, I'd just select this option, click Details, and then set up the options for the placement and appearance of the question numbering. The last option is to apply the values and settings I've selected to more than one paragraph style when I click the Apply button. This will save me a lot of work, because my answer paragraph style looks almost exactly like my question paragraph style, with 2 exceptions. The symbol is an A instead of a Q, and the ending punctuation will be a period instead of a question mark. So I'll go ahead and select this option. Notice that the color of all the values that will be shared with whatever paragraph I select have changed color from black to blue, and the items that are unique to the question paragraph, the paragraph symbol, and ending punctuation have been grayed out. Okay, I'll go ahead now and apply these changes to the question paragraph by clicking Apply. Here, I'll tell it that I also want these values applied to the answered paragraph style by clicking it, and then I'll click OK. The changes I've made are shown here in the preview window. Now, obviously, I have other items that need to be changed. The line numbers and box lines and timestamps need to be moved to accommodate these new correct margins for my question and answer paragraphs. We'll take care of those settings in the next lesson. You will repeat these same steps for each paragraph style, measuring positions on the transcript page, and then setting the values. And of course, when you're finished making those changes, you should save the changes to your layout. I'll save these changes now by right-clicking the My Layout tab and selecting Save. You're ready to practice creating a layout and modifying the values for paragraph setup. Go into the Training User and follow the directions for Exercise 2 in the Layout Practice document. Then proceed with the next lesson in order.